Now that we've talked about differentiating, the next item in the list under coming apart is circumscribing. The way I remember circumscribing is, think about the circumference of a circle, right? The circumference is the outside of the circle. So if in your relationship you are circumscribing, it means there are some things that you are tiptoeing around, right? You are avoiding those topics. It's probably some topics that when you did talk about it, it felt like it was damaging the relationship. Maybe there was disagreement or conflict. So you have some things that you are tiptoeing around and you're not addressing those issues. Unlike differentiating, which is not necessarily a danger sign for a relationship, circumscribing is a danger sign for a relationship, because if those issues are fundamental and they are not getting dealt with, that can harm your relationship. They're going to keep kind of festering beneath the surface and not get solved. Now, if it's something that's not really fundamental to the relationship, then you may just have some topics that you agree to disagree on and you go forward from there. So it doesn't necessarily mean that your relationship is in trouble, but it is something to be aware of, right? It can be kind of concerning when you're in that circumscribing stage. The next stage after that is stagnating. For stagnating, think about a stagnant pond. A stagnant pond might look on the surface like it's totally smooth and, smooth sailing, nothing going on. But if you look beneath the surface, there's all kinds of stuff festering and changing. So a stagnant relationship is like that. You're just in the routine, you might be kind of in a rut, and underneath there are some issues that are not getting addressed, that are fermenting under there, and that can eventually erupt. So stagnating can eventually get so painful and boring and frustrating because issues are not getting dealt with that you go into the avoiding stage. And avoiding is where it's not like just differentiating. This is where you are purposely avoiding the relationship and avoiding each other in order to not have to deal with the pain and misery of that stagnating phase, right? So you might start going to bed way early so that your sweetie finds you asleep when they come to bed. Or your sweetie might start going to bed way early so that they're asleep by the time you come to bed. Or you might find excuses to be outside the household. You say you have to work late when really you didn't really have all that much work to do. You find outside things to do in order to not address the problems in the relationship and not have to deal with the other person. And of course, that's a danger signal for a relationship. So if it is not addressed and things are not dealt with, you might end up at the terminating stage. Terminating, of course, means ending. There are different ways of ending a relationship. It might involve a formal discussion where you sit down and talk about it and decide, the both of you, to end the relationship. It might be, I have a student who got broken up with by a note. His sweetie left a note on the kitchen table, and when he came home, he found that she was leaving him. So, I mean, it can happen that way. It can happen. There's a thing called ghosting, where you just disappear out of the person's life. You stop returning their calls, you stop calling them, you don't answer your voicemails, or you don't check their voicemails, you don't text them. When they text you, you ignore it. You just disappear out of their life. This is obviously not the most mature way to handle the ending of a relationship, but it is a way of ending a relationship. So terminating is, of course, the end of the relationship. Now, at this point, if I were teaching this in class, I would ask, true or false? Some relationships actually go up and down in the stages of coming together and coming apart. And the answer is yes. Some relationships, you all know people that broke up and then got back together. So they went from terminating back up to initiating, or maybe they went straight from initiating to, I do not like that person, straight to terminating, right? So we might go up and down. We might skip stages. The thing is, this is not supposed to be a prescription for how relationships have to go. It's more Dr. Knapp's observation of how relationships tend to go in general. But of course, every relationship is unique, so they don't always go through this stage by stage in a prescribed fashion.